Then I will share screen. Great. Then I will share to up there. What up, Jackie? We're gonna hope that this pops up there. Oop. Zoom share. Screen. Share screen. I don't want it to pause share. New share. Got it. As long as that is okay. All right. Everybody should is and or will be getting it. If that goes on, I'm gonna be super happy. Yes. You know, like all the AV, I've gotten pretty good at it now, but One minute in the VIP. Okay, everybody, let's get going. I'm recording this. First things first, you may purchase all of the beautiful new merchandise that we have over in the gift shop. Rachel has spent all of this day making it look very beautiful. It's all over there. So plug for all of the merch. I would say just more than anything, just go admire how wonderfully organized it is, and it will make someone's day really wonderful. And then that will make my day really wonderful as well. That's how that works. All right, we are going to, I feel like there's going to be a lot of we should all have a pen and at least some random weird color piece of paper. Great. Okay. First of all, welcome. Thank you all for coming. I said this before. We don't have a better solution yet for like a way. I don't like to be in front all of the time. I know it seems like I do, but when I'm teaching, I usually am like in the classroom. So today will be me up here a little bit guiding us through some information, but then we're going to hand off and actually have sort of a discussion and conversation. And it's actually really great because you have all mixed sort of abilities here, which is what I was hoping for. So your own ideas and your own strategies, I hope to learn from all of you as much as I think you might learn from me and the other coaches that are here today. I will say that your coaches will have their own take on what we'll be talking about today and how their minds work, what mindsets that they access. I'm going to give you just a sliver of what I think most of the coaches in here do when they're working out, most of some of the higher end athletes that are in here and how they're working. We'll talk, but kind of more colloquial at that point. We'll talk more openly. We can kind of look at each other rather than just looking up here. I'll present some information and we'll go back and forth. But the general reason we're here today is to kind of talk about this stupid thing that you see on the wall all the time that's also on all of our pants. It just seems like a really easy go-to quote that like some corporate guy, no offense, might use and be like, oh, we've got to go after more. And we're going to try to dig in and under it a little bit more today. And hopefully those of you that are here today, while you're working out, there's a couple different nuanced ideas that are entrapped within those two words that hopefully while you're here, you're working out, you're sweating, you can glance up or look at the brand new sweats and see a little bit more behind the scenes of what that means, maybe a little bit more depth to it, rather than just some cheerleading slogan that's on the wall. When we started the gym, I was really adamant to Ediz that we would not have any like slogans on the wall that were just like gonna cheerlead people around, like you got it, or like you've pushed that weight around. Yeah, I don't know. You see them in all different gyms. And I think when people come in, this does look very much like that. And I want people to recognize that it's not. And I want you all in here to have a deeper kind of understanding. We're going to start just with a really brief exercise. You're going to take, let's call it, Rachel, how many minutes they get? 2 minutes? Let's go with 2 minutes. Rachel will be your trusty timekeeper over there. On your piece of paper there, we're going to start in a different place than you might think we're going to start. I want you to write down without your name, because we will be sharing them, or you can be as intense and as graphic as you want. So Lockie's a big kid back there, he's fine. Make sure that, what we're gonna write. We're gonna write down an experience that you have had in life, whenever it was, that you feel as though it's ineffable. It's something that's really difficult to put into words, meaning when you're gonna write it down, the words themselves will maybe explain what happened, but the words are gonna fail pretty much to explain how it felt, or the significance that it might have held, right? I can say, my dog died, and that may not at all get to what actually that was for me, what the actual experience was there. So when there's a real friction, I think, between the language we might use to describe a situation or the feeling that we had. Another way to think about this is a lot of your firsts, right? So your first kiss, there's before and after your first kiss, and to describe that is really difficult to describe to somebody, like that transformation. Perhaps like the first funeral you went to, a death of somebody, I remember a few of mine seeing my grandfather. He shares the same name as me, not last name, the whole freaking name. So I see my name on an epitaph, and it was really intense to see Alfred Brown, and like, I'm standing there looking at that. Words don't really describe that very well. So take 2 minutes, and in the best language that you have, just describe a situation like that for you. And it doesn't have to be that intense. I was giving you very intense things. It can be something more simple. The birth of my daughter, perhaps, right? The dissolution of my marriage. I don't know, whatever it might be for you. Write it on that piece of paper. You won't be talking about yourself. You're going to pass them up, so no one's going to really know who said what. 2 minutes, Rachel, you ready? Go. I'm going to say quiet. Get in here.
No. Is that fine? Doesn't need that. Then.
Great.
Okay.
I'm encouraging you to be vulnerable here. Dina's going to change her whole answer. Oh, sorry. When you are done, we can pass them on to the empty box, I suppose is the best place for them. Maybe I'll come around and grab them. I'm going to remember what color your papers were so I know who said what. Why? They're all doing something that you are not yet going to have time to do, but we'll see what you feel when you hear what they have done. It's just a math problem. How much time, Rachel?
3, 2, 1. I swear.
All right, finish those up. Pass them down or over. Just you can fold them. Two. I know. Fold yours. Great. Good. You can keep writing. It's not a test. All right, we're going to think about some of these things that people had. Oh, no, I can't even do it. Keep them in your mind for the moment, what you had. We will come back to them as we get towards the end of the day today and think about some of these. It'll be long enough time where you will not know whose is what anymore, so we'll have forgotten about it like a magic trick. These are going to directly interact with our idea of failing better today, and it will give us a different kind of way of thinking about what we're trying to do in the gym. Like I said, these words are on the wall, and oftentimes it's easy to just think of them as some slogan that's empty in there, but they are actually from this man, Samuel Beckett. Just a quick, brief bio. There's much more detail. I could teach like a whole semester on this man, but just briefly the outline of his life. He was born in 1906, so I like to think about how long ago that was. Lockie, that's before you were born. Very long ago. He's very dead in the ground. He died in the 80s. He studied literature at Trinity College in Dublin, one of the better schools in Dublin. He was an exceptional student. He was outstanding, and they asked him to teach. And he decided to teach for like 2 years and thought, this is worthless. What am I doing? I'm wasting my time. I want to write. I want to experience the world. He moved to France. He moved to Paris, where he started writing. In World War II, he was part of the French Resistance. A large part of his response to the world became through writing, and a lot of his writing was related to his experience during World War II. He doesn't have any work that's directly referencing World War II, like there's not like a war book he wrote. But as you'll see in a lot of the style of his writing, it dealt with the displacement, the disjuncture, the difficulties that he had dealing with what was going on during World War II and the violence that he was a part of and saw. There's also some other crazy things that happened in his life. He was stabbed by a pimp when he was like in his 30s, like 2 times in the chest, and then ended up becoming friends with the guy. So crazy guy, lived a very fun life. He's known as one of the, he didn't coin this term, but he was thrusted into something people now call the theater of the absurd. He was a playwright who wrote a lot of plays that deal with absurdity, that deal with confusion, that deal with abstract thought, that deal with trying to understand what life is in an existential way, like who are we? What are we doing? Why are we here? And a lot of the theater of the absurd plays start and end in the exact same place without anything having changed. If that gives you an idea of what the kind of plays were. I'll give you some ideas in a moment. He won the Nobel Prize in 1969, and this was the sort of when they bestowed it upon him. They said for his writing, which in new forms for the novel and in drama, in the destitution of modern man acquires its elevation. A very dense quote, but I think that idea of destitution is really important, right? Someone who went through World War II, who saw the bombing of so much of his homeland, not Ireland, but in Europe where he was living. Just the destitution, like how people all around him were really, really ravaged by war. It really stuck with him, and his work really talked a lot about that sort of pain and that sort of heartache and frustration. He's known for many different works, but these are some of his most famous works. He's known for Waiting for Godot, or as the British say, Godot. Waiting for Godot is a play in which 2 people meet on a road with a tree, and they're waiting for someone named Godot who never shows up in the entire play. And the entire play is just their conversations, not really even about Godot, just what's going on in their lives, and then the play ends, and he doesn't show up. A lot of people suggest that Godot, God, it's the idea that you're waiting for God to sort of answer the questions that you might have or what you should do next, and then God never shows up. In Endgame, there's 2 people that are stuck in trash cans after an apocalyptic event, and they're talking back and forth to one another about a tryst or a love triangle that they've had that has gone wrong while they're looking out over the entire earth that has been destroyed. In Happy Days, it's narrated, or it stars a woman who's buried up to her waist in sand, and she doesn't ever talk about anything having to do with the sand. She's just buried up to her waist in sand. And Not I is a really, if you can ever see a staging of Not I, it's really strange and weird. It's just a single mouth on a stage in a void of black, talking in the third person about other people, about how afraid they are about using the word I the entire time. It's trying to say, I'm not here basically by talking in third person the entire time. This is one of the staging, this is a picture from one of the stagings of it. All of his work is known for minimalism, being very abstract, lots of dark humor, and especially this lack of fulfillment and a lot of uncertainty. The plays end and you kind of go, you know, have you ever seen a movie, like a David Lynch movie, for instance, where you're like, okay, that's it. And you just get up and you don't know what the hell happened and you feel like I just wasted a lot of my time. You can feel that way in a lot of his work and you feel like, what the hell just happened? I'm not sure. And you leave. And it sits with you in this way where it kind of, it sits like a little fleck of sand in the back of your mind, and it kind of, if you let it sit long enough, can become a pearl, because it's asking these questions of the world that you might actually be asking as well. Like, what is the point? Why am I here? What's going to happen tomorrow? Does it even matter? Will I make it to tomorrow? In a letter to one of his friends, this is an ironic quote that people often like to associate with him. He said, "Every word is like an unnecessary stain on silence and nothingness." Now, for someone who is a writer, whose tool is what? Words. It seems like a really strange thing to say. And also, he has to use words in order to describe this. It's almost like a self-fulfilling, not prophecy, but a self-fulfilling tautology. It's like, this doesn't work. Every word is like an unnecessary stain on silence and nothingness. But it does suggest to you one of his big aims. One of his big aims was thinking about when language really doesn't function for us anymore. Okay? And I want that to be sort of what you're writing down on these pieces of papers to think about. Those moments in life where you can describe them and tell someone, but you know if you weren't there, it doesn't matter. For me, a happier moment, the first time I saw the Grand Canyon. I remember getting there at night, and I didn't even want to go. We were just driving by, and my best friend and I were like, well, we should go, it's here. And we slept over in the car. Morning came, dawn comes, and we just sat on the rim for 2 hours just looking at it. And it's one of those places where no matter how many times you see it in a postcard, when you're there, words really do fail you. You can't really go like, well, this is a big canyon. Like, it doesn't do it justice, right? So a lot of what Beckett was interested in is, I'm using this tool, but I want to find the limits of this tool. I want to find, much like we do here in this gym, what are the limits of the body? What are the limits of words? He was incredibly interested in it. So much so, I hope this plays for us. When he won the Nobel Prize, he was really, he wasn't displeased, but he was a little worried and upset because he lived a recluse life at this point in Tunisia. And he didn't want his life to be interrupted by anybody. And you can imagine winning a prize like that. There's lots of people that want to come talk to you, that want to come interview you. And his editor told him, I'm really sorry, but you've won the Nobel Prize. And his wife and him laughed about it. He invited one of the Swedish crews to come down and interview him under the agreement that they would ask no questions. So the entire interview was recorded as such. Should work. I know it's hard to see in the glare. Okay, so in one way, a show of hands, Deanne, I think I know where you're following this. Raise your hand if you think this is just like a pretentious asshole thing to do. None of you? I do. That's my question to you. What are the other options? If this isn't a pretentious asshole move to make, why do this? As a question, I'm just asking, why would you do what you win the Nobel Prize, they want to come interview you, and you do this. What's the point? He is fulfilling the quote. Very good. What else? Yeah. I think one of the things is, okay, imagine every other instance when they come to interview someone who wins a prize like this. What are they going to say? How do you feel about winning the Nobel Prize? And what is the guy going to say? It feels great. I won the Nobel Prize in literature, right? You can already fill in. His point is almost like it's pointless for me to even do this interview. The details of what this, you already know. I wrote some books. People thought they were good. I won this prize. Great. Moving right along, right? His point is really that about efficiency, and his point is also about the purpose of language. Like in this instance, it's actually more effective for him just to be like, this is who I am as a human being. If you want to know why I won this, it's not my talking, it's the things that I wrote on a piece of paper. So go read the things that I wrote, and that conversation is complete, right? That circle is complete. Now, I still think it's a little bit of a pretentious asshole thing to do, but he is trying to lean into his own sort of philosophies. What like to the interviewer, right? It's almost like just don't send them at all, right? But it's almost like John Cage has a piece of music, right, where you just they come out there and it's 4 minutes and 30 whatever seconds of silence, and then all the instrument, and then they just walk off and everyone clap. Like it's really really pretentious to a certain extent, but it is trying to convey some sort of idea. I think what we want to take away, what he has said about his work, right? The key word in my plays is perhaps. And I think this is, if maybe he would have given an interview and said that, I would have been like, okay, great, at least there's a little bit of an insight here. And when he's talking about perhaps, I think he's talking about the possibilities of success and the possibilities of failure, the possibilities of the work making sense, the possibilities of the work not making sense. It's all almost like a rough hewn work in progress, even when you're reading it and it's finished and it's truncated. For your edification, at this gym, we also practice this all of the time. We use wood that's raw because it's unfinished. I don't want things to feel finished. I want things to feel like the materials and the workouts we're doing, they aggregate. There's never a completion, right? So the idea of this perhaps, that we stay in this sort of interzone, is interesting, I think, in how we are working out here. I wanted to read for you from what this quote actually comes from, just the first 2 or 3 pages. And what I want you to recognize in the writing is how different his writing is. If you read part of this from the email, great. If not, if it didn't make sense, that's fine. I'll make a little bit of sense of it for you here. But recognize the formal qualities of the writing. Lockie, this will be like nothing that you have read. Sentences that are one word oftentimes. Grammar seems to be interceded, right? It's just like there's a period we're going to throw in there. It doesn't go on and on with description, and it's also talking in the abstract and in a void. It's hard to know who the subject is. It's hard to know if there's any characters at all. But watch and see as you're listening if you start to have any images in your head, or if you start to make any sense of what could be going on. On, say on, be said on, somehow on, till know how on, said know how on. Say for be said, missaid. From now say be missaid. Say a body, where none. No mind, where none. That at least. A place, where none. For the body, to be in, move in, out of, back into. No, no out, no back. Only in, stay in, on in, still. All of old, nothing else ever. Ever tried, ever failed, no matter. Try again, fail better. First the body, no. First the place, no. First both, now either. Now the other. Sick of the either, try the other. Sick of it back, sick of the either, so on, somehow on, till sick of both, throw up and go, where neither. Till sick of there, throw up and back. The body again, where none. The place again, where none. Try again, fail again, better again, or better worse. Fail worse again, still worse again, till sick for good. Throw up for good, go for good, where neither for good, good and all. It stands. What? Yes, say it stands. Had to, up in the end, and stand. Say bones. No bones, but say bones. Say ground. No ground, but say ground. So as to say pain. No mind and pain. Say yes, that the bones may pain till no choice but stand. Somehow up and stand. Or, better worse, remains. Say remains of mine where none to permit of pain. Pain of bones till no choice but up and stand. Somehow up, somehow stand. Remains of mine where none of the other sake of pain. Here of bones, other examples if needs must, of pain, relief from, change of. All of old, nothing else ever, but never so failed, worse failed, with care, never worse failed. When you read this, if you took the time to read it, it's really hard to read and not fun to read. When you hear it and when you start experiencing the language, other things start to occur. Andrew, any images in your mind?
Not necessarily, but I think the words like bones and ground.
We've got bones and ground, yeah. What else? Jess, what do I got?
Not images, but like listening to it for me felt, I don't know, I honestly had me thinking about music and composition in a lot of
Okay.
ways. Like, it felt very iterative and like variations kind of building on top of each other, if that makes sense.
It is very iterative, yeah. And it's almost like go forward 2 steps, go back 1 step, right? You can feel that instance. And that's achieved by doing antonyms, right? Up, no down. On, no back, right? So you have these antonymic, these polar ideas that are constantly running up against one another. I go forward, nope, I go back. Ground, no up. Your brain can start to feel motion that happens here. It's almost like the camera might be going up and down if you're watching the movie, or it might be going forward. Wait, no, and I'm coming back here. And also the negation. No, on, no, back, right? And you can see someone almost like trying to hesitate and trying to figure out what the hell they're doing. Any other images? The bones, the mind. You see those 2 things in here? Yeah, good. And there is an attempt here. What's the attempt? The attempt is for someone to get up, right? You can see the creation here. It stands, right? This is an author creating something out of nothing. It stands. What? Yes, say it stands. Had to up in the end and stand. Say bones. All of a sudden there's bones for you. No bones, there wasn't any bones, but now I'm saying bones, so they're there. Now say ground. There wasn't a ground, but now there's a ground for you to look at. No ground, but now I'm saying it, so it's there. So as to say pain. And when you think about those 3 things and you start applying them to what is happening in here, right? You've got a body, and if we're just floating around in the void, we're great. My friend John always likes to talk about how he likes to go in float pods because it's the only time he feels comfortable. And as soon as gravity comes into his life, he hates it, getting out of bed. The ground, gravity, this starts to create our pain, right? So say ground, say bone, now there's pain. And you move on, right? Say yes, that bones may still pain, no choice but stand. Somehow up and stand, right? This is something attempting to do something. Better, worse remains. Say remains of mind where none permit of pain. We're going to talk a lot about pain and how we manage pain in a moment, but this idea that you have a body, you have some physical space, and you have a mind. And those 3 things are circling all around this word that comes up again and again, pain. I've got a body, I've got a brain, I've got a physical space, and I'm trying to deal with pain over and over and over again. It helps to know that he wrote this near the end of his life when he was pretty rickety. You saw him in 69. This is written in 83, so leap forward when he's even more wrinkly and more curmudgeonly, and just standing up out of bed. We have parents sometimes that are elderly. I watch my grandma, she's 100. This is about her. Say bones, say ground, say stand, on, somehow, no, sit, now stand. When we're in here, I want us to think, this is kind of a group thought now. How do we deal with failure in this gym? What are the stages that we actually go through when we are in here? I'm going to argue to you this is generic, but think about being in here. Deanne, you worked out today. Who else worked out today? Shannon worked out. Okay, so you start your workout, you do your warm-up. We're feeling pretty good, right? Not too bad. We're doing all right. Deanne, at what point in this workout did you kind of go like, meh?
I couldn't do the seal walks because of my shoulder. That's frustrating. So I figured out something else to do to still be active, but I couldn't do that.
Okay, so I'm starting my seal walks over here. How did you like your seal walks today too? Yeah, right. I know how much Steven hates the seal walks. So we get seal walks, right? And immediately as I start going, there's something that starts to kick in. Discomfort, I think, is often the first part of our failure in this gym. It's either mental, it can be like I'm frustrated that this has happened, or it can be physical, but there's this sort of discomfort in it. It just is there a little bit, and you're annoyed by it, and it kind of is like, God damn it, got to do these damn seal walks, and then maybe the lats hurt a little bit, but we're still going on, and we're doing all right. And maybe we're still getting the blue numbers, and we're feeling okay about the blue numbers, and I'm at RX, and I'm feeling pretty good. Then the second, third round comes around, and you start to go like, oh man, I did that, I got to come back to it again. This is going to hurt, this is going to suck. And your brain starts to think about like, oh man, I don't like that. Going on the bike. Jackie doesn't like the bike. You see it in the workout. It's letter number B. Number B, whatever you say. You're getting ready to go and you go, shit, right? So now, not only you have a little discomfort because you're out of breath maybe, but now you start going, shit, I got to get on that bike next, and that's not going to be fun. Or, Joe, you're going to RX today. You got to put 135 pounds above your head 5 times in the next minute. And you're like, it's going to fucking suck, right? And it sits there as a little bit of a seed of a thought, and you kind of keep moving through the workout. The beep comes, you got to move. All of a sudden, you start doing it, and then you actually start feeling a little bit of pain. It's not discomfort anymore. I'm completely out of breath. How many of you have been completely out of breath in this gym? You can't breathe. Painful. Doesn't feel very good at all, right? Trying to put something overhead, and I don't mean injury here. I mean pain. It's like I'm trying to put overhead, and God, this sucks. Trying to hold a dead hang. I hate dead hang. Holding dead hang on that stupid thing for more than a minute. What'd you get the other day, Dina? You got like 90 seconds. At the end of that, you're everything, right? And you're just like, this actually hurts. It doesn't feel good. I don't like it, right? That goes on for a while. And then, if we keep pushing, we get to actual physical exhaustion. I think that's kind of like, you'll see someone have to go sit down and take a break. Or, how many of you gone, I'm not going to get the blue numbers. I'm going to get 3 instead of 6. That's actual physical pain interceding and saying like, you're not going to get this done today. You're going to have to do something else. In injury, I'm not going to get this done. I got to do something else, right? Where the pain, it's now gone to be so much that your body is feeling this physical exhaustion. You can't do it anymore. From that spot, if you keep pushing, then you get actual injury, and then you might actually need to go to the hospital. I mean, if you really, really push. I have watched people, I've watched Dina get hurt in this gym. I've watched Rachel get hurt in this gym, where you actually have an injury, and at that point, things stop, right? We're no how on anymore. We're done. We are, I got to clean my leg up, and I'm out of here. There's too much pain for me to handle anymore. Now, the key to this, and what we need to talk about in here and figure out together as a group, there's something, if you notice the kind of gaps here, there's I made it slightly bigger between pain and actual physical exhaustion. It's like 2 clicks more. It's not that much. But in this spot is where we are going to put failing better. And it's key to understand that all of our coaches in here, this is kind of where our brains are a little bit different, I think. Dina, I'm asking either one of you, you're spelled differently. I'm going to invoke, for instance, Dina, when we were doing red line together here, prototyping it, and you kicked my ass in it, yeah? This was like 2 years ago, don't worry about it. We were doing a workout together. Did you get discomfort? Did you anticipate this is going to hurt more? Did you actually find yourself in some sort of like, this is painful, I don't like how my lungs are feeling, this sucks? Okay, you did not quit. You kept going. You did not go down in weight. You did not go down in any of the numbers. How and or why? What happened in that moment for you to keep going?
Well, I knew the quicker I would get through it, the faster I would end it. And then I knew that they were right behind me, so I had to keep going back.
Well, yeah, but go back to that spot. You could have literally just been like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do it anymore. And just quit and been done. And in fact, in the gate 14, right? I'm trying to have you look at those two different differences. Dina, I know this for a fact. When Dina is done, she is done. The flip side of that, Dina, in the gate 14, could you have kept going longer? Okay, so why did that moment you quit versus the other one you keep going? Explain that more. It was so long, and so what was happening?
So long, and I was so exhausted, and I was so good. I felt like
Okay, so some of the people who are in this room right now, Andrew, you're a really great target for this. When you're in this room, do you feel at maybe minute like 30 to 32 to 33, like this is so long? I want this to be done. Other experiences of this, when you're in here for the full workout, Jackie, is there a moment in our workout sometimes where you feel like, this is too much, it's a lot, I want to quit? Especially if I keep making you on the bike, yeah? At those moments, neither of you quit the workout, right? We keep going, but maybe we go down in weight a little bit. Maybe we slow our pace down a little bit. I have not seen either one of you quit, but I have seen you kind of go, take a little bit of like I'm going to put it into a different gear at this moment. Joe, does this happen to you in this gym at some point? When you get very tired, what's actually happening? Is it like, man, I'm out of breath and I need to take a break and go over here and get some water? I'm interested in what actually happens to you.
Depends on what the exercise is, but sometimes on the bike or on the ski, you start seeing stars a little bit, and that's a point that I think I'm closer to injury than I might actually be. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go off of this when I probably could have pushed a little bit more.
I'm interested in this probably. Zara, when I put more weight on the bar right now and you look at me like I'm crazy, what's happening in your brain? Do you feel like you can't do it? Or do you feel like, man, that's asking more of me than I'm excited to give right now? Good. Good. And if it failed, then we kind of go back down and we figure it out and come back up. Steven, what about you? What happens in here when you're like, I saw it the other day actually, when you're like, I said, there's gonna be a moment, I told Steven before I got, there's gonna be a moment where I'm gonna look at you and say, your soul has just been stolen from you.
No, it was a good, I mean, I always say some days you're like, oh, that was great. And then some days you just hit that wall and you're like, wow, I'm really not good at these elements in this order. And for me, I was just like, well, I'm here until we're done. So just take a break and then go back to it. Like,
Okay, yeah. I think all of us in here have like a desire a little bit, right? To like figure out how do I break through that spot a little bit easier? How do I move past it and have it not be so oppressive sometimes? It happens to all of us. So don't think that your coaches are above this. Dina, how do you push past that moment? Like you do this a lot and you practice it a lot. So when that moment starts to come, what do you do?
I think actually it's more about you kind of have a flooded mind when you are trying to extend yourself. So there's a skill element added to the exertion you're about to do. It's much harder to lean in and just try because your head is actually quite full. So it's how I feel.
So my worst workouts, my worst achievements in here or in life or at an event is when my mind is not empty and sort of like clear. But when you give that to yourself, it like feels like possibilities are limitless. And you have moments like that where it's almost like floating, like, why is everybody else in pain? I feel fine. And because you found you have enough energy to extend yourself and you just are just doing it. And that's a different
I love this.
it's a different level.
So I think what we're trying to do is in that sort of unpack that a little bit too. I have two ways of thinking about this. Most of you in here, me included most days, are what I like to call brain and body, mind and body in circuit. I have a Prius and I look at the thing all the time and it shows me when it's like, oh, now I'm charging the battery. Now I'm using some of that. Now I'm charging the battery. Now I'm using some of the battery. And it kind of goes back and forth again and again. I think about this a lot when I'm in here, where my body is feeling something not good and it's sending signals to my brain and my brain's going, oh my God, that doesn't feel good. And then it's sending back down to my body like, you don't feel very good. Stop doing that thing. And then my body goes, yeah, I don't want to do this thing. And that loop can be a negative feedback loop again and again and again. If I'm already anticipating that the seals or the bike's going to suck, and then I get there and I'm confirmed that it sucks and my body's feeling the pain and then it goes to my brain. Dina, you were talking about like sort of life and everything as well, but even, yeah.
Everything you said plus then, I don't know.
Plus I got to pick my kid up randomly and I didn't think I had to do that.
I'm just smelling the person smoking outside. Oh, that's impossible to deadlift this while I smell cigarettes smoke or something.
Yes.
Like a strange, it's too much.
So this happens to all of us, but I think when this is happening and you're exerting a lot, it actually multiplies the effect of this, right? We can kind of mute this throughout the day where you're like, oh, I got to deal with that email later, whatever. But when you're physically exerting and you're really tired, this is where it's like, holy crap, body, brain, back and forth. And you can see people, that's why I said, I saw Steven literally go like, and you when they say they hit the wall, that's really what we mean. Like, I can't get out of this loop. What we can practice in here, and this is an argument that I have to try, you can practice being in parallel, okay? I try to create an image for you to think about. I get here probably once or twice a week, and I get really excited when I get here. This is a moment when my brain can step back from my body, far enough at least, where I'm actually looking at myself in almost omniscient narrator, third person mode, right? This happens for a lot of runners when they are sort of like, they're in line and they're running around the track, but they can kind of look up and be like, well, there's two people ahead of me. How much time do I have left to get there? Am I making my move now? Am I drafting for a moment longer? And you can almost go up as like in like a drone and see what's happening to yourself. Now, the way to do this parallel thought, it happens in different ways for different people. I'm going to give you the tool that I use, and I don't know if it will work for you, but maybe it will. It has a lot to do with time, what you were saying, Andrew. If I am able, within a moment of extreme discomfort, maybe I'm bordering on pain, maybe I'm bordering on exhaustion, if I, in that moment, can step back for at least half a second and start to recognize the full scope of what's going on, we're going to link back to what Dina said. Dina said she was able to beat me in that first workout, right? Because I was right behind her. She knew and she had to get it done. She also knew that it was going to be done in about 35 to 40 minutes. When she knew the Gate 14 workout was going to take up to 14 hours, she got to hour what, 5, 6? 6:45, and she went, fuck it, it's not worth it, right? Because what her brain is doing is this math that's going like, I'm going to have to be in pain for a lot longer than I'm wanting to be in pain. And you can no longer, that's a tab that's too big for us to start recognizing, right? If you can scale, and I do this all the time when I'm making music, putting it on, and you can go into the wave file and then you can zoom way back. You do it at Movie Editor as well, where you get into one clip and then scale back. I like to step back and really go for half a second, how much longer is it going to feel like this? And if the answer to that question for me is 25 more minutes, and if I can start thinking about, and it happens in an instant, can I handle 25 more minutes of it feeling this way? And as soon as my answer is, yeah, I can handle 25 more minutes of it feeling this way, because then I start going, well, when I'm done, I'm gonna go get some good food. I'm gonna have the whole rest of my day. You hear me say this to you all the time. The whole rest of your day, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be sitting down. You get to eat and drink whatever you want, move on with your life. It's 25 more minutes that you are not going to be able to control the way you feel. So it comes down to this time scale and relinquishing and almost sort of leaning into the pain is going to be temporary, right? And I know people say that, like pain is temporary. What is the thing? It's this quote we could put on there. Pain is temporary, gains are forever, whatever. That doesn't work very much when you're seeing it day by day by day, but it does help in this moment when I go, can I expand time and contract time and actually do it? Because then as soon as I've decided, yeah, I can handle that, the bike's next, whatever, it's going to be done as well. And you will watch people in this gym. I've watched Dina do it, and not with a bike maybe. I've watched Ediz do it. I've watched Derek do it. They will go, it doesn't fucking matter that much. I know that I'm not going to get myself to physical exhaustion. The one scientific thing to know about your bodies and your brain's gonna start telling you that you need to stop doing physical exercise when you're about 60% still full. You have about 60% more to go. And I will tell you that even in an hour-long workout in here, you're draining your battery about 6 or 7%. You can, and I've watched people go 25 hours in this gym and continual work. We had one of Rachel's first like big events we had in here, like, oh, we're working out for 25 hours. She's like, what are you talking about? And then we worked out for 25 hours. How do you do it?
I start to think about time, so if I have to map, as soon as I start mapping time, 10 seconds to go, 20 seconds to go, 20 minutes to go, I'm almost basically done. Like that means I've lost. Like it's when I don't notice, like as soon as I'm just in my own space and time is not like I can't even tell that it just happened, then the workout can go, yeah.
Maybe I think that that's true, but there's a step before that. We're trying to say, like, how do I enter quote unquote flow state? I don't think it's just, well, today I can enter flow state. You practice this on a day by day basis. So I would argue, Dina, that you might not be thinking about, you've gotten yourself to, because after that, I also am not thinking about time anymore. I'm just moving around and I'm just almost seeing myself move. But I do think that you have a confirmation. So one of the things I was thinking, right? I think it's important to practice and confirm the ephemerality of pain and discomfort. That's a long, stupid, big sentence, but it means why come here day after day after day? Because you get to practice every single day knowing this is gonna end. You know that it's gonna end. And when you know that it's gonna end and you can continue to understand, it will be over, it will be over. For me, it can get me into that flow state, maybe without even bargaining about time. Maybe I'm just going, I already know the equation here. It's gonna end. If I asked you to come to this gym and I said, and you know that I might do this, hey, we're gonna be here until I don't know when. Then, as Dina, it gets a little bit more difficult because you go, I don't fucking even know when this is gonna end. I have no way to know how much pain I'm gonna actually be going through. When Derek and I were doing the 100-mile race, I knew the distance, I did not know the time. And we didn't really look at the time at all, we just kept looking at the distance. And the bargaining that we did was, okay, I've done 25 miles. Can I do that 3 more times? Yeah, I can do that 3 more times. We got to 50. Can I do that 1 more time? Yeah, I can do that 1 more time. Even though we didn't know, you just say like, that was bad, but I've already done it. And so I've confirmed for myself that I could get through that. Could I maybe do that again? The other thing that's important, this comes back to whatever you guys were writing on these cards, right? Getting dropped off in college and being alone for the first time. I got slammed against the rock surfing Rincon for the first time at high tide. That sucks a lot. Becoming a parent, enduring through several failed rounds of IVF and miscarriage and adoption. It's so intense. The lost connection or opportunity of my relationship with my dad. I have that same thing. I love you. These moments, this is also what this is about. So what Samuel Beckett was trying to do was to get us to these moments of fail better. What he wanted to actually do was to write something that got us to the point where his writing, the words, could no longer express. He wants us to be experiencing things that you can't actually use words to express, because that's when he argues that you're actually truly alive. When your language starts failing and you go, oh my God, I lost my virginity, and that's all you can say, you're like, I can't even describe that to you. It's an amazing thing. I had a kid for the first time. Those are the moments that we actually hold near and dear and keep with us for the rest of our life. Now, I don't think that you're gonna have all of those moments in here, but I will tell you, I have had them in the gym. I sat here with you, fucking dying. Do you remember me doing this stupid barbell? Just had me for 50 reps of 135-pound thrusters, and I literally kept saying, you what? I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. This is hurting me. I think I broke my collarbone. What the fuck, right? I can't describe that to anybody. I can just say like, oh yeah, it took me 2 hours to do the barbell. But what I was able to access was this moment of realizing very rarely do I get to actually have a moment where words aren't going to be able to describe to the other person how it felt. And even if it's painful and I don't like it, I do appreciate that I'm given the opportunity to go through something that I can't otherwise go through. And so the other tactic that I tend to have in here is when it gets really shitty is to go, well, the alternative to this is what? What's the worst case scenario? Pain is not the worst case scenario. What is the worst case scenario, Joe? When you actually can't feel pain. At some point, you won't be able to feel that. Your body will disappear. You won't have that central nervous system that does that for you. I suppose you could go to the cryo place and download yourself, but like until then, you don't get to feel pain. So I have a relationship that I began where it's not that people will tell me all the time, you're a masochist, and I'm not. I don't like pain at all. I'm a little baby about pain. I don't like feeling pain. But I do recognize that feeling pain is evidence of me actually being alive, and it's evidence of me being able to experience the world. Now, joy is also that way. I think it's just harder for me to experience joy, so I welcome it more in my life. It's hard for me to get there. But every single day that I'm in here, and the workout starts going to shit, and I say, go back up and wait, Andrew, keep it up there, the choice becomes not between one of pain, right, and discomfort. It becomes one of, I get to fail better. I get to have a moment now that I wouldn't normally have. And if you lean in just like 2% more, I think what you end up starting to feel is, holy shit, I can't describe this anymore. And that's why we program the way we program. It's why we ask you to come in here so often. It's why I get excited when I see you every day, Lindsay. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Because there's people in here that you're going to be surrounded by that are going to practice this. Now, as Dina pointed out, Dina, I love you to death. Dina and I are often stand on different continents and achieve the same thing. But however you can start thinking about this in a different way, create a different relationship is the goal here, to that discomfort, to that pain. And if you can switch the relationship that you have to it, it doesn't mean you have to say like, I love pain. That's fucking stupid too. But it can say, I have a different relationship to this feeling now. And I get to practice it every single fucking day that I come into this gym. And by that practice, all of a sudden, you realize it's not gonna be there forever. And that ephemerality, I actually say that in a way that's like sad. It's like, it's gonna suck a lot. Joe, when you are finally dead, it will suck a lot. And it won't be as cool. The earth is really great with you on it. So feel all the ways that you can actually feel. I don't know that that entirely connects, but I was trying to create this like map for us where these things, where you've had the moments where you can't talk about, have them in the gym too, right? And it's stupid if it happens with just like a barbell and some dumbbells, but it's the same thing, right? You can get yourself to a physical place that is very similar to being slammed against the rocks in Rincon, or going through IVF, or not having conversations with your dad, and you can process some of those emotions and some of those feelings of discomfort, pain, sadness, etc., or joy right here. Last thing I will say, this idea of know-how on. The bones, the mind, the getting up, the go on, etc., all of the ways that we were reading. When you're in here, and you actually do push through some sort of barrier, and you are actually quote unquote failing better, or you're having a moment of failing better where you're like, oh, I can't even describe this to somebody. That's why Ed has put that bell in here. And it's why when you get a PR, we ask you to ring it all of the time. It seems hokey sometimes. I rang it today, yeah, Rach? It's important because it reminds you that you are actually not always being squashed by this thing, but you can actually overcome it. And you can get to this place where, man, I've been shit on this exercise for fucking 6 months, but I got my first, watch Dina do toes to bar now. She gets super excited. Watch other Dina do muscle ups. This is why we do the progression of things. It's not so that you guys are just constantly in a state of pain, but it's so that you can walk over there, ring it, and realize I'm actually accomplishing things. It's not always winning, right? I get to win too sometimes. It's not always the workout that's going to be the winner. That's all I have for you. We can continue to talk in small groups. I don't know if there's questions or you want to talk to one another. It's weird because I just kind of ended it in a weird way. But I do want you to leave here feeling at least as though you're going to contemplate your relationship to this. And even in that contemplation, like I'm expecting all of you when you're in here I want to see that it actually, like, it might not be Dina's way, it might not be my way. You might have to think about burgers and steaks and like that's what gets you through the pain. Cool. But you can get through it. I just want you to like stay right there. When you start feeling pain, do something. You have to do something that just changes whatever the game is and you get to keep moving forward. Okay? Okay, that's it. We're done.